more fallout from the Bud Light thing, but more specifically, something that we have often noted and laugh at, and it's kind of a pet peeve of mine, is whenever Tim Pool and Quartering, whenever these guys talk about a company's stock price and how it's tanking, it's never really tanking. They really something goes down like 3% and they think, see, look at this company lost 3% and therefore it proves that you go woke, you go broke. I'm like, 3% is kind of a normal fluctuation. Now, what happened to Bud Light? Losing 5, close to 7% in a week. That is significant, but I've seen
Was
a
it
lot
really
worse.
7% in a week?
I think it was just under 7, but then it retraced and it gained some of it back, right?
Because I feel
So,
like I looked at it and it was like 2.5%, one day, and then maybe another 2.5% the next day.
it added up to maybe 5, just ballpark,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Which is not irrelevant, but at the same time, it's the sky is not falling. They do have to pay attention to it, and it does seem clear that the reason this happened is because of their whole controversy. However,
I don't even think that's necessarily
I
true.
think
But
that's necessarily true because Coors Light went up, or Coors went up at the same time, so they seem
that's true.
related.
Yeah. If you throw that in there,
Yeah.
then you can maybe say.
It's not like all beer companies went down this week. So, yes, they were impacted. Their stock was impacted, but they always cite these 3% fluctuations as, some kind of evidence that you go woke, you go broke, and it's just not the case.
Well, they never say it like the percentage. They always say, "Oh, they lost $5 billion." It's just pure
right.
clickbait.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, you want to see a true tank, look at Facebook in 2022. They lost $200 billion of market cap. And a good 15% drop. That is catastrophic. It wasn't part of going woke, but they had a major crash, which the sky was falling for them. Although they're alive, but we can't lie and say that that's not a significant dip. I guess there's not that much to say about it, except that Tim Pool and Quartering they exaggerate the severity of these market fluctuations to back up their own points.
Well, it's just clickbait, and it damages their credibility, in my opinion.
Right, it is good clickbait because somebody who you're already inclined to be invested in this story, you'll of course click on it and you'll think, oh wow, really? Did Budweiser lose a bunch of money?
I was hoping.
So of course, I'm hoping they lose money. So you click on it. So yeah, so maybe they even realize themselves that these are not truly severe fluctuations, but you got to make content, you got to do clickbait titles. So what can I say? I guess we can use that to segue into the related point that I wanted to make. And this always happens to us, which is in hindsight, we always realize that it was so obvious how we could have monetized this whole shit. But we didn't at the time. But, in hindsight, it just seems so obvious. Well, you should have done this. You should have invested in this. You should have shorted this, blah, 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 blah. And this is another one of those examples. It seems so obvious that, okay, not that we should have shorted Budweiser because we couldn't have told that this would happen. However, we should have known that a competing company like Coors might experience a bump, which is exactly what happened to them. But we didn't buy Coors. We just let this whole opportunity go by. And we didn't make money off of it, which feels bad and is embarrassing because we should be smarter than that. Why didn't we do it? Why didn't we reason from A to B when it seems so obvious?
How much time was there between
like a week
when they announced Dylan Mulvaney?
A week. We had a week. So this wasn't the next hour or so. This was a slow burn. So we had a good week to make this adjustment, and we didn't.
Did we ever talk about, because I heard Joe Rogan came out in defense of Bud Light.
We didn't. Joe Rogan had a weird, awkward defense of Bud Light where they even busted out some Bud Lights and put them in camera view, which felt very much like Bud Light is a big sponsor of Joe Rogan or something, It felt very much like he had to do it. And even more recent, Donald Trump Jr. came out and said we should stop the boycott of Bud Light because they're generally a conservative company and they give more money to Republicans than Democrats, so we shouldn't murder them over this one thing. And it's a fair argument actually, because I looked at the numbers and it doesn't seem like they're the wokest company. And this does sort of fit with some of the reports that said that this was kind of just one rogue VP, the woman who's, in all
Hmm.
the videos. She kind of made this call and it was a lower level call, which blindsided most people in the company. And we can say all we want that, hey, you run the company, you should be aware of what's going on. You shouldn't let this stuff happen under your nose. Yeah. Yeah, but we all know, human beings are human beings. Companies are large. There's a lot of people involved. Things slip by. It's just not a nothing is a perfect operation. So it is possible that some lower level person said, "Oh yeah, this is a great idea," and the higher ups, they were just asleep at the wheel and they didn't really think too much or didn't notice it. It is possible. And if that was what happened, then I do kind of feel bad for them because it is just this lower level person. Although you hired this woke woman, right? So you still bear some responsibility, but you were blindsided to an extent. And once they were caught in this situation, they couldn't just say, "Oh no, we totally disavow. We hate trans people." Sorry, sorry, Kid Rock, right? They couldn't say that because then you'd have uproar from the other side. So it's just a rock and a hard place situation that they found themselves in. And there's another thing that I will say, and this is a criticism that Joe Rogan made, that conservatives are taking this way too seriously. It's just a beer, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera. And
That's where I'm interested in because I've talked to multiple people in person. One of them is very conservative, and the other one is not conservative but not crazy. So, and both of them think that it's sort of silly to
yeah,
not drink
yeah.
Bud Light.
And I would agree for if you're boycotting and if you're in an uproar over it, over the beer, I would agree it's kind of silly. However, I fully support the decision to stop drinking Bud Light. But the way I would do it is I wouldn't say, oh, it's a boycott and I want everybody else to stop drinking them because, trans, et cetera, et cetera. I would just say, well, there's lots of companies out there. They have the right to associate with who they want to associate with. But I have a right to just seek out companies that align closer to my values. And if you're communicating that you're for DEI, you're for trans, you're for woke ideology, then you're just not moving in the same direction as I am, and I'm just gonna find other companies that align closer to me. I don't think that the outrage is warranted, but I do think just bringing your patronage to companies that align closer to your values, I think that is warranted, and I think that conservatives should do that. I just think they should do it with less noise. I guess I guess it's just an optics
Hmm.
issue that I have with them. I don't think that the TikToks where you're pouring out Bud Light and you're shooting the cans with your rifle or whatever, I don't think that is a good look. Guys,
Pretty
just
entertaining in
it
my
is
opinion.
entertaining, right? But it does make you look kind of silly. So you have to give them that, right? You look kind of unhinged to care this much over beer. However, just moving away from companies and going towards giving business to companies that align closer to your values, that's not unhinged. That's just, I think that's perfectly reasonable. On the one hand, it is good optics because it sort of rallies people to this cause, right? But on the other hand, people who want to critique you, they can point at it and say you're goofy or silly or you're taking this too seriously.
In this case, it just seems there's so little cost to switching. It's
Right.
like
So
why not switch? I
just
mean,
drink a different beer that doesn't have trans ideology pushing
yeah,
it, right? And the other
I,
other thing is Bud Light. It tastes like shit. I'm not a beer drinker, but it tastes like shit. So you really, product wise, you lose nothing as well,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh. I mean, one of the guys I spoke with, he brought up another example of Nike. That basically, even though Nike might have woke advertisements, doesn't mean he's going to stop buying Nike stuff. I mean, I just think maybe it's a case where the switching cost is a little bit higher, maybe.
Yeah, because if you're a longtime Nike customer, I'm sure you really love the product itself. You just probably feel they make better product. Even though, honestly, I used to be pretty loyal to Nike. I just thought, oh yeah, Nike is the best or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
me
like
too.
it's a legacy. It's a residue of loving Michael Jordan. You just figure Nike is
Yeah,
better. Like, but then
yep.
you get older and you realize that it's just the same cheap $4 shoe made in China that all the other companies do. There's really no quality difference, you know? And since then, I found that, I kind of like Adidas product better anyway.
Mhm.
So it's harder for people who are fans of Nike. And also Nike has a customer base that is more liberal, I would
Hmm.
assume, than
Yeah,
Bud
that makes
Light. Bud Light's a very, redneck brand. So that's another thing that lends credence to this idea that the higher ups at Bud Light were blindsided by this thing. I mean, we have seen companies cut off their own nose to do the woke thing, but the people running Bud Light would have to be just retarded to think that this would be a good look for their customer base.
sense.
They'd have to know that, okay, our customer base, I mean, we want to be diverse and we want to have high DEI scores. However, we have to keep in mind our customer base. So I don't think they would have done, they would have all signed off on this.
So you think they're stuck at this point? There's nothing they could come out and say,
I
and
do because they can't just say, "Oh no, this was a total mistake. We hate Dylan Mulvaney. This was a rogue operator." Because
they
then
maybe don't have to say that. They could maybe say that, this decision was not, just simply say it wasn't approved by the higher ups and just
they
leave it
could
at that.
they might get away with that. But then of course, the left would do. They would say, "Well, this proves that this is an anti-trans statement." Even though it's not. But they're not rational, so
Right.
they might say that. Although, who cares if the left rails against Bud Light? They don't even drink it in the first place, right? Do
I
they?
don't know.
I don't think leftists drink Bud Light.
Uh,
They drink like kombucha and shit like that, right?
yeah. Do
Or
you
they
know how
drink
much
the
money?
craft cocktails that cost $25, like I do.
So yeah, I saw some tweets saying that Bud Light donated, I think it was like 500K or something to Republicans. But I didn't. What I didn't see is how much they donate to Democrats.
Oh,
Did
I saw the
you
same figure.
hear
It was
that?
less. It was less. They donate to the Republicans way more.
Okay, like how much less?
It was maybe
Like
like a 3-to-1 ratio.
I see. I see.
I feel some empathy for them. It's a tough spot to be in.
Mm.
So I don't want to be like other conservatives just dunking on Bud Light. I'm like, oh. And here's the other thing:
I don't. Yeah,
the
only under
company
the
itself,
assumption
it's
that.
not even
Yeah.
it's not even Anheuser-Busch anymore. It's InBev. So this foreign company bought or merged with
Oh,
Budweiser.
really?
Yeah, this foreign beverage company from like the Netherlands or something bought them.
I see, and that's what the symbol Bud is.
Yeah, that's
It's
why it's
not.
that's why it's like Anheuser AN InBev or something like that.
I see.
And Bud Light, but the Anheuser people did get some board seats, but I think that it's really a foreign company at this point. At the same time, if you want to drink Bud Light, just drink Bud Light, okay? You're not a bad conservative, this idea and all of these people who are, they're doing the rallying cry of we've got to keep this going. Like quartering is particularly guilty of this. Just he's really on the whole. We've got to keep this going. Like
You know
why?
what? Okay,
It's
so
just
I
for
just
you to make
realized.
content.
So I just realized, I think my opinion might have changed a little bit on this. Well, I think it's just annoying because I'd rather they just keep politics out of beer advertising, right? So I would say even if they had done something that was pro-conservative, I wouldn't necessarily want to see that either. And so what I realized that I think I made a mistake in buying the Daily Wire chocolate
Hmm.
because by
Because you
doing
just
that,
want you just want a neutral.
exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Well, have you even received the Daily Wire chocolate yet?
No,
Oh,
I
fuck.
mean, isn't it just? I think it,
You're
it
just
was like a
really,
pre-order. It was
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah. That's
pre-order.
true.
Yeah, but yeah,
Um,
you're. It's like it's almost like a Kickstarter, I guess.
right, 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 right. Oh, speaking of the Daily Wire chocolate, just like a segue. I had a
Yeah.
I had a friend on Facebook who was just like this was a while ago. Remember the whole Daily Wire chocolate thing? He purchased some Hershey's and he said, "Wow, I didn't have to pay $8 for it or whatever." Right? And he's a leftist. He's still my friend
Uh,
though. See, that proves that I'm able to have friends with different political beliefs. You can't say
yeah,
really the same about leftists.
that's incredible because the more, yeah,
Although in
the deeper.
fairness, he's a leftist and he considers me a friend. So there's at least one leftist who can do that, right?
That's remarkable.
And then I and then I made fun of him. I just said, "Well, you realize that Hershey's is not the best woke company either. Here's a link where they were accused of basically human rights violations, like they make African kids work on their where do you think this cocoa comes from? It's not a great place, right? There's human rights
Mhm.
violations baked into a lot of this industry. He had nothing to say to
So,
that. He just said, well, blah blah blah. When leftists have lost an argument, he just starts
mhm,
sputtering and he's defensive. But that's fine. I think that's probably most people, not just leftists. So.
I've noticed a lot of like straw mans and
Right.
whataboutism.
And he said, well, I mean, what kind of chocolate is there? That's probably just all chocolate. And then of course I dunked on him again because I all I had to do was look up the Daily Wire chocolate, and lo and behold, I said to him, most chocolate, but not all chocolate. There could be some chocolate that's sourced,
Yeah,
with
most of the chocolates you
humanitarian
see,
idea in mind, right?
exactly. Yeah, most of the chocolates you see at Whole Foods, they got all this like I don't know, fair trade,
Right,
whatever,
exactly,
all these like
exactly.
labels and
I was
stuff on
like,
them.
we really care how this is sourced, et cetera, et cetera. And I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
told
yeah, yeah.
them because I paid X amount of dollars, a much higher amount for my Daily Wire chocolate. Because of that, it's way more likely to be fair trade chocolate. And he didn't believe that. And I just had to go look it up. And of course, yes, luckily, Jeremy at Daily Wire, he bothered to use fair trade chocolate. Probably because he was just thinking, oh, what if somebody criticizes us, right? So he's like, well, I'm charging people $8 for a candy bar, so I can afford to make it fair trade chocolate. So it is. And then, of course, that ended the entire debate.
Uh,
So, long story short, he tried to dunk on the Daily Wire chocolate by saying, "Look at me, I'm buying this chocolate." Like, but your chocolate was sourced using slave labor in Africa, so that's not very woke of you. And the chocolate that I bought, the quote unquote evil Nazi chocolate, happens to be fair trade chocolate. Who's the bad guy here? And also, this idea that it's quote unquote expensive, that's relative, right? I mean, for some people, $4 candy bar is not expensive, right? It's just relative to the person purchasing it and what their values are and what they want out of the product. I wouldn't say that the Daily Wire chocolate is overpriced any more than I would say, like you said, those Whole Food chocolates. They're like when you go to Whole Foods, those candy bars are super expensive too, right?
they are, they are.
And
Did you want to take this opportunity to also dunk on the right wing or that conservative beer?
oh, the conservative. I'm not even dunk on the beer. I will say this. So there was a conservative a guy who came out with a right wing beer. I don't even
Yeah, yeah,
remember
yeah,
the
that's what I'm
name or
talking about.
whatever, but it's
Tim,
super.
the one that Tim pushed, right?
Yeah, yeah. First of all, the commercial is super cringe. I mean, if it works, it works. Congratulations. Whatever. Free market. If a bunch of Kid Rock wants to buy your beer and a bunch of people who listen to country music want to buy your beer, then awesome. That's the free market.
Conservative dad's ultra right.
Right. I have no problem with that. Well, I guess I do have a problem, and this is in line with what you were saying earlier. It just contributes to this bifurcation, this polarization, right? Like, so as a conservative, I have to buy only from this list of products, and then you, as a leftist, you can only buy from this list of products. It just seems like we're limiting ourselves, and we're not all getting access to the optimal best products if we all operate this way. In that sense, I don't like it because it's promoting a world that's too polarized. But at the same time, I am for it because people have the choice in a free market to purchase what they want. And I just want them to have the choice. So,
Yeah, I just feel like this beer is. I think it is. I'm sorry. I think it's priced absurdly, and just the fact that Tim is plugging it.
yeah. Yeah, they
It's
need to
like
be more competitively priced too. Yeah, if it's super expensive, then no, nobody's gonna.
I think somebody. I don't know if this is true, but I might have read somewhere that Tim knows whoever is.
Oh, yeah, that could be true. Right. That brings up the other thing I wanted to talk about, which is there was a huge opportunity here for a rich person, not me, but a rich person like Elon Musk. What if this whole Bud Light thing happened and then Elon just bought a small beer distributor, like a small beer company, and just said, hey, this is a non-political beer and it has my stamp of approval. That beer would go through the roof, I bet you anything. He could easily just buy a majority share in that beer and say, this has got my stamp of approval. And it wouldn't even be an SEC violation because if you buy stock in the thing and then you say, hey, I approve of this thing, it's good. You can. I mean, why can't you, right? Can't you say good things about things you own? I think that's allowed under the SEC, right?
Probably.
But that beer would go through the roof, wouldn't it? I think it would. There was an opportunity for a rich person like Elon to just totally capitalize on this and blow it open.
Hmm.
He could have made a small beer company, like he could have 10x their market share, I bet you anything. Like he could have had a Doge effect on it, you know?
Yeah, Doge beer.
Yeah. If I was advising Elon, that's what I would have told him. Jason Calacanis claims to be his friend, but did he give him this advice? No. So how good of a friend is he, really?
Jesse Calcanis says some of the worst things.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
If I was one of Elon's better friends, I would make him way more money than Jason Calacanis has ever made him. So that's just my pitch to be, for him to be my friend. It's just a regret on our part for our inability to monetize this whole Bud Light situation. But we've got to vow the next time something like this happens, we have to really sit down and like tease out the various, where this could go, the various ways that we could monetize this thing and actually commit and do one of them and then see how it turns out.